Good morning, Chicago and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Money, Sex, Gen-X podcast. I am your host with the most. The man with the plan. The Scotty Pimpin. Podcast Pimpin.
That is he.
Mr. Eric McLeod. I'm excited to be here today. My people tell me they're going to start calling me E-Money. So I'm going to roll with that. But guess what? I'm joined by the Titan of Team Tech.
Who that?
Music mogul in the making. The Rasheed Wallace of stock market knowledge.
There he is.
My co-host, the homie, my brother, Big Stu.
Bo, 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 bo. Lick a shot. What's happening?
Stu, what's going on, brother? What's happening, man?
Hey, man, I am super stoked about today's episode.
You and me both,
looking to have some fun, man.
We definitely going to have some fun today, man. And before we get into it, if you like what MSG is cooking up, comment, share. And while you're sharing, go ahead and drop MSG 100 in the chat so we know you're out there. And you know what? This is cool because you'll keep helping us to grow the show.
Especially on YouTube. Get over to our YouTube and subscribe to our channel.
Yes, please do that. We taking YouTube way more seriously these days. So get over there. All right. So today, Stu, we're going to have some fun. We're going to confront a serious question, which is why, and I don't want to assume that your sex life sucks, but this is just a general sort of question that we're throwing out there. But why does your sex life suck?
Wow.
And some people out there, Stu, they might be like, yo, who cares about this subject? Like, I don't care about this. But when we look around society, Stu, what we see is that sex is at the forefront of pretty much everything that you see in the media, right?
Come on,
especially, I know a lot of people like to keep up with celebrities. We had Tristan Thompson, who has repeatedly cheated on Khloe Kardashian many times, allegedly. I don't know if that's true. Kevin Hart allegedly cheated on his pregnant wife. Not throwing any shade to these brothers. I'm just saying these are things that are in the media. Kris Jenner had an affair during her marriage to Robert Kardashian. So this is Kim Kardashian's mother. That was a very famous thing that a lot of people heard about. We've heard about the episodes with Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston, and all these different people. What do you have to say about this topic? Like, how does this impact your life on a day-to-day basis?
I don't care about none of them celebrities and what they do. I be tripping about what's happening in my own backyard, brother. Yeah, man. The celebrities, what we really got to pay attention to, what's happening with us, what's happening in our families, what's happening with me, what's happening in our communities, how are we leading, what I'm going to do, because I struggle in some areas around this topic, man.
Yeah,
we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. We're
gonna dive into this and see what's really going on. And before we do that, though, like sometimes we're gonna bring on our guests. We got some guests today. We got some cool guests. But the other thing I think about, I'm really into music, and I know you are too. Right now, we got this group called the City Girls. They talk a lot about sex too. They're out of Miami. I don't know if you heard of them.
Very familiar with them.
Okay, cool. Megan Thee Stallion, she's very sexually explicit in her music. Little Kim, a bunch of other artists. One of my favorite artists, who is Chris Brown. When his brother's got some good music, but when you listen to it, it's really, really sexual. You know what I mean? Like when you sit there and listen to the lyrics. But it's still, with all this sex that we have in society, too, it still feels like, and this is what I want to get to the bottom of today, that sex is still not being done right.
It's not only is it not being done right, but it's still a very, very much in my opinion, seems to be very much a taboo topic. Like people don't like talking about it. They get nervous talking about it. It's still hush behind closed doors. Don't talk about it. But it seems like a lot of people doing it.
A lot of people
doing engaging in it.
No doubt. We all engaging in it to some extent. So I wanted to dive into this, see what's really going on. We have two beautiful sexologists that are joining us today. Mark, if you can bring them on the screen. Please.
What bring on? There they go. There they go. There they go. All right.
We have Renee Yvonne and we have Octavia E. Vance. Thank you, ladies, for joining us on the show today.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
How you all feeling today?
Amazing.
Good. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to get into Renee's bio real quick. Renee, I'm going to give you a bio. I'm going to give you sort of like the bio that you gave me. Then I want you to tell the people who you really are. And then Stu can bring on Octavia. So Renee Yvonne is the Gen-Xerologist, okay? She helps passionate Gen-Xers and baby boomers reignite their sexless relationships. But also while she's doing this, she's helping them to navigate health and medical issues that may affect their sexual performance. The goal here for Renee is she wants people to have an exhilarating sex life and become the fullest expression of who they are sexually. Now, the interesting thing about Renee's background is that she is a certified clinical sexologist. I definitely want to know more about that. Since June of 2020, she studied at Sex Coach University, Sex Coach U, and Tantric Institute of Integrated Sexuality. Wow. She enjoys cooking, swimming, biking, learning. Seems like a very vibrant woman. Renee, tell the people who you be.
Wow, I sound amazing. Well, that is all me. So I'm a clinical sexologist. I decided to go back to school a couple of years ago. I work in transportation by day, and I had an offer to work somewhere else in the country, and I was debating it. And one of my friends said, "Do you really want to do that? Like, what do you really want to do?" And I said, "I've always wanted to be a sex therapist." I was fascinated by it. I went to Catholic school most of my life, and you learn a lot of bad information in Catholic school about sex.
No doubt.
And one of the things we learned, I remember distinctly, was that if you masturbate, you will go blind. And I remember going home and going, I'm going to test that out. And then I didn't go blind. I thought, okay, why are they telling people this? And so,
you were willing to go blind for the test?
I was willing to go blind for the test.
Bravery and courage.
Scientifically, that didn't make sense to me. Those two things didn't relate in any way, so I just needed to test it out. Yeah. So I was actually in a sexless relationship for a few years, and realized that women weren't talking about it. Like, I found that men would say, you know, oh, I'm just going to get it somewhere else, but the women I would talk to thought it was something wrong with them, and so we were taking classes and, you know, trying to, you know, buying lingerie, like we were doing all this stuff. And then we found, you know, I found out that it wasn't me. I wasn't the problem, but that my partner was on a medication that was decreasing his libido. And so this is what led me to really looking into this, because this is happening. People aren't talking about it. Like you just said, it's sort of in the, you know, secretive, but we're all, you know, we'll talk about it somewhere and go like, you know what, something's going on and I don't know what. And, you know, we're whispering about it. And then you find out this is happening to everybody. So I see a question in there, what medication? A lot of depression medications, high blood pressure medications, medications for diabetes can all cause low libido or erectile dysfunction. And that's what I found out was happening.
Hold on, Renee. We're getting a little bit ahead. Let's we have another expert sitting in here. Let's introduce her real quick. Octavia E. Vance, OEV, is your favorite sexologist. She is the world's, listen to this, she is the world's #1 sexologist for women of faith. She is the Harriet Tubman of your sex life.
I like that.
Okay. And I know my camera is frozen, but obviously y'all can still hear me. So
that's all right. We hear you.
Yeah. OEV, Octavia E. Vance, leads women of faith from frustration to liberation in their ships, all kind of relationships, and sex by teaching them to embrace, own, and protect their sexuality in order to have more fulfilling relationships in their lives, intimacy with their God, while creating the ships and sex life of their dreams. Listen to this. Listen to this. Her life's mission is to build up frustrated women of faith who are struggling in their ships and sex, so ladies can heal up on this Sunday morning, okay? Then build their communities via successful relationships, healthy marriages, elite child rearing, and get this, generational wealth. Welcome, Octavia E. Vance.
Thank you for that.
Wow, what an intro! What an intro.
They gas you up, though, Renee.
I know you sound amazing too.
What's going on, Miss Octavia E. Vance?
Yes, I primarily work with women in the church, women of faith, and so interesting about that is my husband as a pastor and as a wife who was actually religiously sexually repressed as well. And once I got out of that, the reason why I call myself the Harriet Tubman of your sex life is because before Harriet Tubman ever freed anybody, she freed herself first, even though she was married and even though her husband didn't go with her to freedom. She was like, I got to get to freedom. But then she could have stayed and operated in that freedom or go back and get her people. And when she would go back, she still faced so much animosity that she was free. And it was taboo to talk about running away or whatever. And all of that is like when you think of sex today as it pertains to women in the church. It is very taboo. It's only talked about if you are married. And then even if you are married, when it's talked about, it's told to women that we should be having sex with our husbands or he may get it from somewhere else. And oftentimes they don't realize that they are indirectly blaming us if we're in monogamy and our husbands have been unfaithful. But then as I was talking more and more to wives, single women was like, what about us? And at first I was like, well, what about y'all? But then I thought about me as a single woman too, and my struggles as well. And then it just went beyond that. Like they're told to wait and pray on a man, don't have sex, don't masturbate. But then no one in the church is helping them to get married and to express their sexuality. If it's such a sin, why isn't no one helping women, especially Black women, get married in the church? So that's how that happened, how I became the Harriet Tubman of your sex life, and talk more about it for women of faith in the church. That's why I specialize in.
I love it. I love it. Very engaging way to describe yourself. And timely enough, we just had an episode last week, I think, where we were talking about why do you want to get married in the first place? And we found out some interesting things. So it's cool to hear you talk about that. Yeah, I mean, I've had my own experiences with being in Christianity and sex being taboo. Definitely, my mother, was a very religious woman, still is. But I also would always question her and say, for something so important, Ma, why aren't you having more of a conversation with me about this thing versus me kind of going out on my own and kind of stumbling through all of these different situations? Renee, I would actually describe that as being a very dangerous path for somebody. What do you think about that?
Just going out and figuring it out?
Figuring it out, yeah. Is that dangerous or is that the natural course of things?
I think that's actually how most of us have figured out sex, unfortunately, because most of us don't have a real conversation with anyone about sex. Your parents may tell you the mechanics of like, this is how a baby is born or made. And they do that with a whole lot of fear and terror in their heart. They're just kind of like, this happens, but we don't really talk about the pleasure of sex. We don't talk about how it actually happens or what to do. So we're all kind of just stumbling around. I don't know if dangerous is the right word, but I think we learn a lot of really bad habits. Like, I'm not opposed to porn, but I think porn teaches some terrible habits to people. And so there's this idea that when a guy shows up with a pizza, a woman is just wet and ready to go, right? There's this idea that, you put on a nurse's uniform.
That's what works for me. All I need is some Giordano's.
And ready to go.
I've been to Chicago. That is good reason. But you know, there's this concept that that's what happens, and we're not really learning anything about pleasure. We don't know that there's a broader definition of sex, which is what I talk about a lot in Gen X with Gen Xers, is that if there is some type of medical issue going on, that it just can't be about penis and vagina sex, that you have to expand that, and we don't learn those things. So I don't know if danger is the right word, but definitely we learn some bad habits.
Octavia, what are your thoughts on that? Is that dangerous? Is that the natural course of things?
It depends on how we define dangerous in that context.
Okay.
I do think, like Renee mentioned, pleasure is never told. Like, I have 5 children, and I let them know how they all got here, and that it was a joy. Now, the birthing part was probably a bit difficult for me, but the conceiving them was joyful. And when I first began to talk to, especially my daughters, because 2 of my oldest, are girls, I let them know while touching their bodies and things like that it's gonna feel good. I didn't even mention shame because they weren't taught that. So I didn't even bring up shame and whatnot at that time when I first started teaching them. Because those types of things are actually taught when they tell you don't. It's the same with a toddler. If you have a 2-year-old and all you keep telling them is do not, don't, they're going to do. Instead of you redirecting or sitting down and teaching, it's just no. So I didn't want to start off with my children in the negative. Like many of us started out in the negative. You better not. If you bring a baby home, you're going to get put out. You this and that. But they're not telling you about your sexuality, which is why I teach women to embrace their sexuality, especially women in the church. Women in church don't even think they own their own bodies. They're told that God owns their body if they're single, and when they're married, their husbands own their body. They don't even know they own their own body, so they live often in fear of what they do to their own bodies. So we weren't told growing up to embrace your sexuality. You don't hear that in homes. You don't embrace your sexuality. It doesn't sound right.
Not at all.
Like when they said the mechanics, and pretty much after that, you got to figure things out. Well, I decided my children they're going to be some exploring and figuring some things out, but they're going to get better basics of sexuality, how it works, the pleasure behind it, the connection, the emotional connections, and things like that. So I don't know, dangerous, but like she said, bad habits. And also when she mentioned porn, I think it's not a really good depiction of the emotional connection that comes with sex. They're just acting and putting on, and they have medication and things that just pop right in. Like she said, you wet and he's already hard, and it might work for men, but it doesn't always work that way for women, of course.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Eric. I wanted to ask. We're so excited. Me and Eric so excited. We busting at the seams, man. Go ahead, E-Money. No,
I was just going to ask. I just want to say this thing. Like, we're always try to give the male perspective. We're not trying to speak for all males, but I feel like with the porn situation, it's always put out there that men are the ones that are so much into porn. But I've dated a few women that I would consider porn addicts. And I don't feel like that gets talked about a lot in society. I was just wondering real quick, do you all feel like, have you seen a lot of women in your work that are addicted to porn, or is it just primarily men that you experience with that?
Oh, it's definitely been some women addicted to porn, especially in the church. But see, they're not in those studies. They're not asked those questions. Yeah. So when they get at least 1,000 in these studies, that represents pretty much all, at least 1,000 people, that represents all. But I've never gotten those calls. A lot of us have never gotten those calls, never answered those polls. There are plenty. I don't want to exaggerate either. I won't say plenty. I would just say, as far as addictions, you definitely have some, especially single women.
Okay.
Trying to deal with celibacy and whatnot. Yes. And I don't think it's just an issue with men. I do think it's with women too. But I always go back to who created it, who's over it, who profits the most. It's never us.
Right.
So, yeah, it's gonna be. It is targeted towards men, although they've switched up things with Pornhub and they have different fetishes and different likes and kinks and whatnot.
True that.
I have a question, and Eric, tell me if I'm jumping in a little too early with this question, but I have daughters. I have sons. When is the best time to start? And because I believe in getting being proactive in this conversation with our kids. When is the best time, in your opinions, Renee and Octavia, to have this conversation with your children about sex, so their sex life doesn't suck?
Great question.
Renee, let's go to you first. Yeah.
I think when they ask you, do an age appropriate conversation about what it is, and you use the correct terms. You don't rename it into something, wee and PP. Like, you don't do that. You just give the names, because I'm sure, as Octavia may mention, and she just said, like, a lot of women don't even feel like they own their bodies. When you do a test, like you may have done this, Octavia, you just put out, like, what did you learn to call your down there? If you just say it like that, women have 50 million names, from nothing to pocketbook to monkey. I've heard the crazy. I'm like, what is this? And so teaching women the right terms, that it's, there's vulva, there's vagina, those are different. Like, teaching those kind of things, I think, from the beginning, and not bringing shame into it. And so if you see your child and they're touching themselves, like, they'll do that early on because it feels good to them. Not like not slapping the hand away and going, no, don't do that. Like, that's the beginning of them feeling shame about their body when you first do that. And so teaching them as soon as they ask, or whenever you see them do something, like, it's okay to do that, and to not make them feel bad about it. So probably 3. That's probably when that's going to happen, 2 or 3.
Octavia, I don't need, and I want to jump in. You don't have to rehash that point, but it brings up a new thought for me. We're talking. What there are? You all have you met women who? There's this idea that all women want sex, right? Everybody wants sex. Everybody wants it. What about the women out there? Can you talk a little bit, Octavia, about the women who are not sexually stimulated or motivated? What's your experience with those women?
Plenty. And we always have to go back to the roots. We always have to go back. The way I started this actually was working with Nigerian women who said they had never heard an orgasm in their life. And some of them had been married 10 years. And at the time, I don't think I had even been married 10 years. And I was absolutely shocked, right? So I'm shocked. I knew in the beginning of my own marriage, it had been hit and miss, but I was still getting some with a hit, right? But they had never had any. And I had to find out why. So I created this group on Facebook where we would just simply talk about sex, their sex life. And everything went back to here. Everything went back to here. What they were taught growing up. Yeah. Everything that was associated with sex was bad or sin or could cause death or go to hell. And once you worked out the mindset, the psychology behind it, you were like, many of those ladies experience freedom with orgasms. We're like men, but we're not like men. And so we can actually block just being right here. And that's when I went on the journey of like, okay, I got to free these women, because I got free, and it wasn't easy getting free either, because what was really out there for women of faith besides what not to do and only do it within. And so then when they would share those things, not getting wet, not wanting it, thinking it's just a duty they have to do in order to keep their husbands. And it was so much to like unpack and move things out of the way. Like, wow, all from a little girl. So it was actually kind of sad in the beginning, but the more we worked at it, and I did it for free in the beginning, the more we worked at it, when I saw their liberation, that's when it hit me like, I'm doing this. So yeah.
That's got to be a mind-blowing thing for a person who have never had an orgasm, and then maybe they work with somebody like yourself or Renee, and then maybe you're 30-something years old and you have your first orgasm of your life. Christ.
Your socks gonna get knocked off. I'm sure. She like, I can't believe I messed out on this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a game changer, man.
You might feel like she's been cheated, too.
Yeah,
You know
that's a
what I
game
mean?
changer. She's gonna
Yeah.
be mad at some people, man.
They actually do be feeling cheated. And sometimes one of the first responses is, was that it? Was that it? Was that what it? I was like, yes, girl, that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now, we always talk about, I wanted to throw this at you every week, or a lot of times, every couple of weeks, we have Eric's burning question. So I'll throw out a question that has really been in my mind for a long time, just to see what the guests think about it. So my burning question, Eric's burning question this week is, I want to ask you, is a man, from your point of view, when we have an orgasm, and Stu and I talked about this a couple of seasons ago, but just because a man has an orgasm, does that mean that we're satisfied? Because we always hear about the female orgasm, but I think the male orgasm isn't talked about as much. So if we're having relations at orgasm, do you assume that, Renee, that, oh, he's good?
Once
He's
he comes, he reaches climax. Do you assume that he's good?
Do you think about him at all after that, or you just assume, hey, he's cool, he's good? Have you ever thought about that?
That's such a funny question, because I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like we always talk about men's orgasms and very little women's. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like it's the opposite. I always feel like we're talking about the female orgasm in the media. At least, media.
And even men. Even as us men, amongst each other, we're trying to make we want to make sure your lady came. You want to make sure your lady came, man. You want to make sure your lady came. That's like, if you ain't make your lady come and something is wrong.
We're taught that. We're taught that as young men.
Okay. All right. I guess now in this era we are talking about women's orgasms more, but that's only because they just realized that women can have orgasms since like 1980 or something. Like they just figured that out. So maybe that's part of it. I think also it's a focus on it, because if women aren't guaranteed to have an orgasm every time we have sex. And so if you're going into something every time and you don't know that you're going to get something out of it, that could be a reason why she's not wanting to have sex. She's like, oh, okay, we're going to do this. It's going to be 5 minutes, 16 strokes. You're going to kiss me here, there, and it's going to be over. And so you're not really thrilled about that, especially if you're not guaranteed an orgasm. So
wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Hold on, just something that we gotta see.
She minimized all of that.
See, this is what I wanted to all get into today, Stu. I'm glad we're talking about this. So you're saying, Renee, and I want to get Octavia's point on this too, that a man is guaranteed an orgasm.
That's kind of what we're kind of taught that if you're going into it, you're pretty much going to come. Women aren't going to come a lot of times. We don't know. Like if you come before us, then we might not get a chance to have an orgasm. So
wow.
So y'all are thinking he's gonna get his. See, that's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I'm trying to get to, Octavia. You think we're gonna get ours?
Yeah. I think pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Hey, come on, man. Let's be honest. Like, for the most part of the guys, man, that is the objective. Okay? So I don't know, guys. From my experience, I mean, you're gonna come, man. We gonna get ours, bro. We're gonna get ours, bro.
I'm gonna tell you something now. I probably have.
But I said for the most part.
I have more female friends than men for the most part. And I've had some conversations with some female friends of mine about guys that they were dealing with that did not orgasm. They did not come when they were having relations. And they would ask me like, yo, why is he doing, like, why is that happening? I can't believe that he won't ejaculate. So I think it might.
So did he ejaculate or did he have an orgasm? Those are different.
Right.
Okay, school me on the difference. I might
not school me on the difference. Put me on the difference.
So you can do what's called semen retention, which allows you to have multiple orgasms as a man. You have to practice it. It'll take some time, but so a guy can have an orgasm and not ejaculate. Those two are separate. They have always been together for most guys, but you can't separate them. But I do think in general, women probably think that most men go in and they're gonna come. Although I did learn a couple weeks ago that men fake orgasms. I didn't know that, so I learned something new on my podcast.
We talked about that once.
OMG.
We talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. Like, I feel like we don't talk about, and that's why I was saying I don't know if we talk about the male perspective enough. I think we just talk about the fact that men want to have sex and they're constantly thinking about sex. But yeah, how do we actually feel? Because, you know, if a woman is telling me, man, this guy didn't ejaculate, I think what she's saying is like, I didn't see anything visual to let me know that this man enjoyed himself. That's the thing. I've had that conversation with several women. Octavia, what do you think about that? Like, do we assume that the man, well, first of all, have you ever heard that a man did not ejaculate during sex?
Yes. With my clients, it's probably not, I don't hear that as much, but women do tend to freak out when they don't see it. They start to think
question
everything
themselves.
bad.
It's rough.
It's something going on with his health. Is he messing around with someone else? Did he have sex with someone else that day? The reason why he didn't come with me. So they tend to freak out. When it does happen, they tend to freak out. Does it mean that men are satisfied once they get theirs? It depends on several things. His refractory period, is he asleep? I mean, he depends on sleep.
Right, might not be up.
Well, he might be plenty satisfied to be asleep, you know. So there's also the releases of oxytocin and dopamine. So sometimes when those things are released, that's that love hormone, that oxytocin, and they're just like, man, I'm good. I'm good, and hopefully she's good. It can be hard for men after that to make sure the woman got hers. Now, that's one of my specialties because I teach women, like I said, I'm the Harriet Tubman of sex life. She got the freedom first. I believe women are pretty much primarily responsible for their orgasms as long as they're healthy. I want them to get them. And oftentimes they get them before their mate because for years, I know you're saying that we don't talk a lot about the male orgasm, but like she said, they were just finding it was always said it was complex. 75% of women don't get them, don't have them.
That's a lot.
Studies of lesbians, 85% of lesbians get theirs. So
85%?
85%.
So I got a stat on that real quick. I got a stat while on that point. So we got some
actual factuals.
Yeah, we got an actual factual. So we have what we call a data scientist, our researcher. Her name is Rosalind, but she pulled this stat, and I want to stay on that point. She said that she found that when masturbating, 95% of women orgasm. The first time that they hook up with another woman, for those who are into that, they orgasm 64% of the time. In those situations where it's the first time that they hook up with a man, they only orgasm 7% of the time. And I think the point is that there's something wrong with the roles or just the psychology behind this whole orgasm thing. What do you all think about that?
There's a lot. I mean,
psychology, but at the same time, just being real, men oftentimes are out for self.
Yeah,
and men oftentimes think that just because it's going in and out, they're doing the damn thing. Like this is what she loves. But what is it hitting? If he's not hitting the G spot, what is it hitting? Is he rubbing up against the clit? Is he hitting the G? Like even when you switch positions, like what exactly is he making sure? And so if she's not even if you take porn, for example, most of us have seen it at some point in our life. Right. What did you see a lot of other women doing? They were, if he was hitting from the back, she was stimulating herself. You know, she was stimulating herself. So it's different when you get a couple where the man is focused on, like I'm really big on, my husband and I are very big on, I aim to please. I'm pleased by pleasing him. And so he's the same way. He's pleased by pleasing me. But that's not always the norm. So therefore, I focus on the women who are not getting and never had, and I teach them how to get it for themselves, but also teach them to teach their mates how to sex them. When you are in touch with your sexuality, you understand your body and how it works, you can actually take your hand up, grab a man's hand and show him your points like that you really want to be. You can show him how to find your G-spot. You can show him everything so he'll know, because oftentimes with women of faith, their husbands just don't know. They don't know.
Yeah. That's sad. That's sad. Hey, we cooking up today. This is the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. This is season 4, episode number 6. Yep. Why does your sex life suck? We have 2 sexologists on here with us today. It's not just me and Stu talking sex today. We got the women's perspective, so we're getting into it really deep. If you got something to say in the comments, let us know. Stu, I think we had a few comments out there. Can we read some of those?
We got through them. I think we got through them all. Yeah, Rosalind is saying exactly what Octavia just said. Can we work together for it? Each person responsible for their own seems disconnected. No, like, yeah, like I can help you, please. You know, I want to please you. You want to please me. We can do this together. That's a good point. Let me jump in here. I think Octavia, you bring up a good point. I want to give this to you, Renee. Sex for women, and believe it or not, here's a Stu's moment of transparency.
All right.
Oh boy. Stu's moment of transparency. I just learned this not too long ago. That's my moment of transparency. What I'm about to share with you, I just learned recently. For lots of women, for some women, sex happens before foreplay. It has to be some sort of mental stimulation. You can't just wait for the bedroom. You spark that throughout the day, lead up to it through the week. You gotta do more than just hit it. You gotta stimulate. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Now, man, you about the same age. You said you're saying to the people that you just found that out.
It's okay. So let me read. I don't have to backtrack my words now. I just became open to that. Like, I heard it, I knew it, but I didn't realize the importance of it. And that's a real thing.
Oh, okay, that's different.
You know, I mean, I knew I heard it, but to like really understand it and really know what that means, that's the learning. The learning is when you take action and apply it, right?
You act on the wisdom.
So I ain't backtracking. Yes, it's like, this is real. Because you know, in my earlier days, it's nothing to like you Renee was saying. You can just show up with the pizza and it's going down. You know what I mean? It's a wrap. I'm out. I'll talk to you later. This stage in the game is a Gen Xer. We're talking longevity. We're talking the rest of our lives, and we want it to be beautiful all the time. And it ain't just showing up with the pizza. Renee, your experience with that, is that true? Do more men need to hear and understand that? What are your thoughts?
I would say yes, that there needs to be more understanding that it takes us a little longer to get in the mood sometimes. That you just can't run in with the pizza and we're ready to go. But that it takes some finagling, like, and to know who your partner is. So what turns them on besides the touch. And so sometimes when I'm working with people, I talk about spending that time just doing what we call pleasure mapping. And you're figuring out like what on the body feels good. Sometimes we tend to go for the 3 we know, right? We're like, hit the nipples, I'm hitting the clit, you know, I may spank a little, you know, and you're done, right? You think I've hit the big 3. But you may find out like through pleasure mapping that the nape of her neck is sensitive, or that the small of her back, her elbow, the back of her knees, her toes. Like, you find all of these spots. And if she's someone who is really stimulated by conversation, or
that's a big one. That's a big one.
You know,
sapiosexual.
Sapiosexual. Or like, you know, there was that calendar was out a few years ago where it was like the porn calendar for women, and it was like the man was cleaning the house, you know, that kind of thing. Like that can, for some people, like that is a blockage. If I'm trying to have sex with you, but every time I look around, I just see laundry and I see dirty dishes, and like it's hard to get in the mood when that kind of when that atmosphere is around. And so sometimes those are the things that don't seem very sexy, but those are the things that really help her to relax and get out of her head. Because if I'm laying
there, you go.
There's dried egg in my pan. And you know, like I can't
because women are always thinking women are always thinking about this. Is something else I learned. Like, women are always thinking about what they have to do. Like they're thinking about their next move. I got to take the kids here. I got to do this. I got to do this. And then if you're entrepreneurial, you got an entrepreneurial woman. You know, she's running a business and all of these things. And we showing up out the shower like, babe, what's happening?
What's happening?
Like, I ain't no. But when you switch that and you do like in the middle of a conversation, touch that elbow. Where it's you're not looking for anything to happen, or you do like just take the kids away, right? As I have an 18-month-old, 19-month-old. Sometimes just taking the kids, me and the kids going for a walk for 2 hours because you know that she just needs a break, can lead to a lot of pleasure.
That can create a mood.
Absolutely. And we as men don't know that ain't our thing, brother. That ain't our thing. That ain't not go-to, brother. Take the kids.
Yeah, it's not. But you know what? I will say this, and I'm gonna continue to push the men's sort of perspective. Like, it's hard for me to get in the mood if the house is dirty too, though.
Absolutely, I hate it.
Like, I'm not feeling that. I need things to kind of be a certain way for me to get in the mood too. But you know, I think that with women it's a little deeper. But we have our little, what you call it, idiosyncrasies about how we're going to get in the mood. And sometimes it might take us a little while to get in the mood too. You know what I mean? Especially as you get older. Now, I want to ask Stu this. As you get older, does it take you longer to get into the mood as it did maybe when you were in your 20s? Or is it the same?
No, it's the same.
It depends. I think it depends a lot on your libido.
Yeah, I think it depends
Oftentimes,
too.
women's
different
libido, as
libido.
they get older, our libido increases. That's not for all women. And we're not a monolith, so we can be different. It's just like when you mention how men don't like it dirty too. Like, I think in a lot of our minds, we think men can just get it up anytime, ready, no matter. And that's not the case. Men also have their things as well that can turn them off, make them soft, and not get hard on.
No question.
You know, just like with women as well as what would turn them off. But one thing I will say is that's why I don't like I think it was Stu that mentioned women have a lot of things on their minds. And see, this is one of the reasons why I help women create the ships and sex life of their dreams. I ask them, what is it that you would want in your relationship? How would you like to change your marriage? In what way? Or what is it that you would like? You're a single woman. What would you like as in marriage? What would you like? Like, I'm not cooking and I'm not cleaning. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm going to delegate. I'm going to hire out. My husband's not gonna have to cut the grass. He's not gonna have to do anything. I'm gonna delegate everything so that when he comes home, all we got to be thinking about is the amazing marriage we have, our amazing kids, sex, whatever. Because both of us don't have to deal with stuff being dirty. Both of us don't have to deal with stuff being done. It's done by others. The older I got and the more kids we had, I realized we really don't have to be doing all of this they say we have to do. And especially with women of faith, they're always taught things like, girl, you got to know how to cook. You got to know how to do you got to do this. And it's just doing, but never being. And so I designed a life. I created a life where I was being, and I don't care. I got kicked off of Clubhouse stages for saying things like this. I wanted to be a pretty princess. That's what I wanted. I wanted things done for me. So because I created that life, when I did have, my husband loved it. So what did that make him do? It made him generate more income. Hurry to get home to a home full of children who think he's a superhero and a fine wife. Like the older a woman he loves to show off. So I'm like, this is what I mean by creating the ships and sex life of our dreams. You have all these women that's overworked, tired. They work outside the home, then they have to come home and clean up, or they're home all day with the kids. And I was like, no, we don't have to have that. That's not so we can clear our minds more and have better sex even as we get older.
I love that. So you're talking about having strategies in place to make sure that your love life. Yeah, I like that. I like that. One of my big things that is always a turn off for me is bad hygiene. The bad hygiene situation. I know we've all experienced that on both sides, but like that's a complete. I don't care how beautiful or fine you are. If that hygiene is not right and exact, I can't do nothing. I can't do nothing. How big of a deal?
Money got high standards. Got high standards.
You take a shower. Take a shower. That's all I have. Take a shower. But like, how big of a deal is hygiene these days? And I know you're not a monolith. We talk about that, but for you all personally, like, is hygiene a big deal for your, with your men? Do you really care about that? or is it the performance that you're more worried about?
No,
Okay.
hygiene is important. I mean,
Okay.
You should smell good. Your breath should be good.
Okay.
You know, if
Yeah,
you need
that
to trim
breath is
up
a big deal.
trim up some hairs if you have to. I mean, yeah, you should. Hygiene is important.
Let me throw in this. This is a question that I'm gonna throw it out here. It's the age-old question. Every man is asking, and every man wants to know. The size matter. The size matter. The size matter.
Man, I'm worried about that.
You snickered like a little. Renee snickered like a 6th grade girl.
I was like, how did I not see that coming? I was like, what's the age-old question?
Both of y'all giggled like the note just got passed.
Is that a real?
The size matter?
Yes, it's an issue. It's an issue.
I feel like I have my own. I've drawn my own conclusion on that, but I was gonna bring that up too, Stu. I wanted to see, like, in these days and times, is that a thing? Now let's talk about why. So I think everybody understands it does matter, whether people want to accept that or not. Some men have a hard time accepting that. Fine, but tell the men why. Why does it matter?
So
go ahead, Renee.
I was like, so I think that men think that size this way matters a lot more than this way matters. And so for a lot of women, like, I don't necessarily want you to have an 18-inch penis coming at me, because my vaginal canal is 4 to 6 inches. So you don't really need this humongous penis. But girth does matter, like, because you can feel that in the walls and you can grip that. If you do Kegels, you can do some amazing things on that penis. But when it's too thin, when it doesn't have enough girth, it doesn't really feel like anything. It's like one of my friends describes it as walking down a long, dark hallway.
Whoa. That's not good.
Whoa. And so girth does matter as opposed to that. But I will say this. Some guys know that they don't have whatever the size is for the woman they're with, and they know how to make up for it in other ways. I think the problem becomes when you don't know how to do anything with any of your body parts to please a woman, or you just have a really big penis and you don't know how to work it. Like, that to me is almost worse than anything. Like, if you just got a big dick and you're just like, I don't know what to do, I'm just like shoving it. That's terrible. That is just terrible for everybody. Yeah, you're just rearranging my organs. That's not cool. Nobody wants that.
Okay. Yeah. Octavia, you on the same page with that?
I think it's important. A lot of things, I think this part a lot don't realize. Like, women are shaped differently, right? So if a woman is, like, as they call it, junk in the trunk, and he 4 inches and he trying to get it from the back.
Can't do that. Yeah, you can't take advantage of it.
She's not gonna feel that. You land on your stomach and he comes from the back. In your mind, I've heard women say this. I know some things. You're thinking of fish swimming in a fish tank. Like, it's not getting anywhere.
I'm doing that. Right.
There are, now I've helped some couples get penis extenders. All right. Some men don't like it. But bro, you're working with 3.5, 4 inches, sometimes micropene, and that can breed sexual incompatibility. So we gotta work with what we got, right? If you're not gonna go and get something else, then you can buy a penis extender where it's kind of hollow. You put it over the penis. And it gives you length, or they can use the strap on. Their husbands men who use strap on.
Wow. What?
I mean,
what? I've never heard that. I'm not judging it. I just never heard it. I never heard that. I've never heard that.
I love Sue's face right now.
Divorces. It literally stops them pinning. Women have gone, I won't say all, many women have gone for years without pleasurable sex. Without just, that motion in the ocean, it might maybe because all women don't want oral and other things or tangible. They want the different. Some women don't want that, and oftentimes men who are pretty big they really don't know how to do the other stuff anyway, because they've been
haven't
living
had
life
to.
really in bed, tearing up women's services and things. So I think it does matter. And I think if before they ever get together, I think it's I teach women how to find out what a man has before, so that she can choose whether she wants to be with him in that way or not, because sex is a big part of relationships.
What are some, I know you have a professional, both of you are professionals and this is your livelihood, but can you drop a few jewels about some things that maybe women can check for, how women should, what are a couple of things that they should do to give a couple of secrets away?
Well, y'all know about the gray sweatpants, right?
No.
The gray sweatpants.
What is the gray sweatpants? I've seen the jokes I've seen it, but
I'm not up on that one. I'm not up on that.
Tell us.
Well, the gray sweatpants, y'all know when a man gets hard. A lot of men today, what are they really wearing under these sweatpants? What are they really wearing?
Oh, I don't know.
I wear drawers.
Like
I wear boxers, but so you say it seems like some guys is out
boxers,
here no drawers on
or nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So it also depends on your clientele. So I know my clientele, the audience that I'm talking to, right? And I even did a TikTok video on this that went viral, but it's like it's teaching them certain things. Now I told them not to get into a Me Too status of touching. But the gray sweatpants can often tell if he's like adjusting. If he adjusts a lot, oftentimes that means he's working with something or working with what they would prefer. What a lot of women claim they want someone who's big, but that's just being excited and being in the crowd. But that's not true. Women, average is the norm. Average is the norm.
Average is the norm.
Average, I think, is about what, 5.5 to 7.
5.5 to 7 inches.
For a black dude though, 5.5
Listen
for a black
to me. There's some myths out there.
I thought our average was a little deeper than that now. 5.5. Are you talking? Well, maybe I'm misinformed. Am I misinformed about 5.5?
That's the average size of a penis. Yeah.
So they're saying 5.5 to 7 is average.
So
they're average.
There's some that are bigger. You got your 12 inches that help to balance out the 3. But yeah, average is
average.
Yeah.
I got you.
And when I'm talking, this can be for anyone, but my audience primarily is going to be us. So the myths. Okay, I'm just gonna say myths for now. Is that white men, normally have smaller and black men normally have bigger, right? So when you hear me say average, I am literally talking about us.
Okay.
I know there's a myth about, and I won't say the word myth. I know there's a thing about black men having big penises, and yes, black men can be known for that. But some women have been around. Many women have been around. It's not
no doubt, no question. I've heard the complaints from friends of mine. No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a misnomer, and that makes me think about something too. And I want to ask students, so we talk about the men with the big penis, but what about us with the big booty? Like, is that something that we just feel like, and of course we can't speak for all men, but is that really a prerequisite for us, or is that just something that's put out there in society?
You asking me this?
Yeah, what's your personal view?
You know what? So that's interesting, because I was just thinking about, as we were having this, Kevin Samuels crossed my mind, because he's the hottest topic for men and these rankings of women, and you're talking about size and all of this stuff. But I was thinking about a woman's ass. I was thinking about a woman's ass, and I prefer a little more junk in the trunk, right? I don't need I'm not interested in skinny, thin women. I don't want a size 4. I don't need that, me personally. And then a lot of guys I know prefer a woman a little bit more, little meat on her, man, a little meat on the bones, man, a little something behind her, dragging a wagon or something,
No doubt.
And I know, I'm being managed, Renee and Octavia. I'm being managed because this is where I can come in my safe space and be a little mannish without getting in trouble.
No doubt.
So yeah, I want a little wagon. I want a little wagon. Yeah.
Okay.
At least,
Yeah, I think it's good.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
How about
I'm the
you,
same
man?
way. I'm
Yeah.
the same way. And it doesn't, it doesn't have to be super big. With me, it's more about the shape. And I definitely want something back there, but it doesn't have to be. I think the stereotype's got to be super big.
I'm not
cool.
looking for nobody
cool.
to enhance nothing. You don't need to
Yeah,
add
no.
nothing back there.
And that's the other thing, the natural. So I would rather, if you don't have it, if you're natural and you got a little something going on, I'm cool with that versus
That's
you
best
doing
way.
the unnatural. I'm not into that at all. But as we know, there are a lot of men who are into that because people will tell you, like a lot of women have told me, like the only reason why I'm doing this is because I've got bad feedback from men. I have female friends that have told me their man said, yo, you're too thin. You need some more junk in the trunk. Go do what you got to do. And unfortunately, some women actually go do that. Just like our Caucasian counterparts, I think sometimes what's in society is they like breasts more. And a lot of Caucasian women, many of them have gone to get those breasts, they got them, the breast, what do you call it? The breast augmentation implants. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Like, can we blame the opposite sex? So if we say, okay, most black men want you to have a nice size butt. If you don't have it, where does that put you if you don't have it? Like, should you go get it? Or, because now let's keep it real in this conversation, because Stu, you can say, well, no, you shouldn't go get it. But then you're outside and nobody's paying you any attention. You know what I'm saying? And that can get hard.
I'm gonna lean back to something that Octavia said, man. Look, and this is like that. Men and women need to get our minds right. Like, right? I mean, you do what you want to do. I don't have no opinion about a woman's body, ladies. It's your thing. Do what you want to do with your body. You have my full support on that. But I'm standing on this part, like, when you get comfortable in your own skin, who gives a fuck about what somebody else thinks about you? Like, you just got what you got. You got what you got. You got to work it out.
Fam, I think that's easy to say, man. I really do. I mean, I get why you're saying that, and I know you believe it. You don't say things that you don't believe, but you got a lot of young girls, for example. They're young. They're still coming into their womanhood. And unfortunately, what people are saying, it does impact their self-esteem until they get strong enough to develop a stronger sense of self. And I'm not saying that's a reason to go get an augmentation. I'm just saying that, like, this feedback that people are getting is real. They might be hearing that over and over and over all day. You're too thin. You're too big. You don't have enough booty. You don't have this. That can get hard to deal with after a while.
If you are, and I'm gonna make this comment, and I'm gonna let it be. If you are a supermodel, you're trying to do something in a porn space or that Playboy Hustler magazine space, and that's your livelihood, then sure, enhance what you need to enhance for your livelihood. But I'm talking the everyday average man or woman in this case. I don't think that you need to be concerned about some. I don't know. I don't know. I really need to think about that a little bit more. I don't think that women need to necessarily enhance their body parts.
I want to go back to Octavia. Okay, I can respect that. And I'm not saying it should either. I just want to I want to go back to Octavia. She was telling us that there are some of her clients, I think if I got this right, some of the men got the penis extender. What would you say to those people, kind of like what Big Stu was saying, is like, nah, just be your natural self. Don't do any augmentation. If they didn't do that, would they maybe have lost the relationship?
Well, sex it was such a big part, and these women were not being pleased. They wasn't orgasm, even though they can orgasm themselves, or if he licked the clit, she could orgasm. But when you want that connection in actual intercourse, in sex, she just wasn't feeling it. Some men, that's just the way they were born, and so the extender helped. Actually, my mentor, sexologist Dr. Rachel Ross, has a pump for men to help them with erectile dysfunction and things like that. To deal with that. Those things actually happen. As far as like the make of a woman, and I don't tell grown people what to do. If women want to go get enhancements, they can get enhancements. at the same time, if you just, we're not going to ever do this really, but if you just turn off the TV, the social media for change, women are going to be women, men are going to be men. Men are going to be sexually attracted to the women they're sexually attracted to. I think it's pushed. It's if you go back, Generation X, right? When you go back, the junk in the trunk, the dragging the wagon was not the thing mainstream. That's why Sir Mix-a-Lot came up and said, "Hey, I like big butts."
Yeah,
what was being said? People was always talking about the black. Somewhere along the lines, everything that is about us, they talk about us the way we talk. It was loud, whatever. But then,
no doubt,
others became that, and it was
right.
And all of it, you couldn't get jobs, or you got fired from jobs because of it. But then what happens? Other people take that. Appropriation happens.
No doubt.
Same thing with the bodies. Y'all see it all the time. Women out there are being celebrated for body enhancements, when a lot of us been had it with the stretch marks, with the cellulite that men loved for years. They never had an issue with that. But once you get this stuff put in front of you, who we really need to be protecting from that is the young people from that. However we do that, because then it gets in their minds that this is the type of woman that I must have. We don't have preferences. I'm not ever going to speak against someone's preference. If they prefer a woman with long hair, straight hair, whatever. I think there's a very popular Christian couple where he made it clear, y'all can have the natural movement is fine for women, but I want my woman with straight long hair. That's his preference.
Right.
Some of it based in being shallow, sure, but still his preference, right? I think one of the things, like men are definitely visual, but one thing men really love is confidence. So even if she's not dragging a wagon, but she's confident in who she is and her body and whatnot, that's attractive to a man. And he will oftentimes be more attracted to that than a woman that's dragging a wagon, who may not be as confident, may have all these insecurities. So
that's true.
I'm talking to women, I'm like, girl, whatever you have or don't have, we're not going to focus on what you have and what you don't have. Accentuate your confidence and all the other accessories that go with you, who you are as a person, the value you bring when you walk into a room. You don't have to have the biggest ass to draw attention when you're in the room. Because I tell people all the time, the ass may get their attention, but what keeps it?
Keeps it.
Right. I like that.
If she didn't have an ass, guess what? It wouldn't stop us from wanting to hit in most cases any damn way.
Right.
You know that, E. If we've been keeping it a buck.
It's true. If you're attracted, you're attracted. But on the flip side, my female friends have told me one of the biggest things, Renee, that turns them off is when a man appears to have big D energy, right? You know what I mean by big D energy? All right. So they act like they got that hammer. They got the hammer. But when they go to do the thing and them clothes come off, they don't have it. And the reason why I'm saying that, to Octavia's point, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Octavia, but you can be confident in portraying this, that, and the third, but does it still come back down to that performance? For men, I'm talking about for men. You met men, they're very confident. They act like they got it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't have it. Have you all experienced that? Is that a thing, or is it just something that people are telling me?
Yes, I've experienced that where the guy appears to have that energy. I am always leery of men who talk a lot about sex. Like you're going on a date and they just instantly start talking about it. I have not that I won't ever be wrong, but I haven't been wrong yet that those guys are usually bad in bed.
No doubt. So it's like, why you keep talking about it, right?
I don't know what the correlation about that is. But typically, I find that.
Let me ask you something about that. Do you think that they're doing that out of anxiety because they know that they're not good, so they keep talking about it because they know that it might lead there and they're anxious? Like, why keep talking about something you know you're not good at?
I never thought about why they do that. That's a great question, because I've just noticed it. It's just something I've paid attention to, and I kind of I file it away as like, this is probably going to be a bad experience because he's talking about it entirely too much. And then it's a bad experience because he talked about it too much. But I never thought about why, but that's a good point. It could be that they're nervous or anxious about it. I think that they're trying to figure out what I like. I think that's why they're talking about it. It's like, let's get it out the way and see what she likes, kind of thing. And maybe that's why it's brought up pretty early. But yes, I have seen that energy, and then you get with them, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, that was a thing I did. I like that time.
A thing I did. Some
like
time
that
that got wasted. Yeah.
But
Can't get that time back.
But to be fair, it can be. A lot of things can happen with that. Like there could be, maybe I'm not as into it as he is. Maybe he's super excited. I'm just kind of like a little excited, and so that doesn't make the experience good either for each person if you're not kind of on the same wavelength sexually. Maybe it's being rushed. Maybe there's a time constraint. It's like, okay, we got to get it in and get out of here. It could be that I'm not putting my best in, because sometimes you go in and you're like, I don't think this is gonna be good, or I'm not gonna throw everything at this person because I'm gonna scare him, or
Right.
So there could be a lot of that in there. Like you might not fully show up sexually because you don't know what the person is really into, and so you don't want to show up with your floggers and your and your corset and your 2 vibrators because they're looking at you like,
I get scared. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not
No
putting it
doubt.
work. I'm not starfishing it, but I'm also like, I'm just kind of like, I'm there, I'm here. I can participate.
Do a little something, no doubt.
Yeah.
We have a lot of younger people that watch the show, and there's 2 terms that you ladies brought up that I want to make sure we're defining for people. It's 3 actually. I want to go back and define sex. But before we do that, can you tell the younger people and maybe some older, like, what is the G-spot? I don't want to assume that everybody knows what the G-spot is. How would you define that for people?
Especially the young guys.
How to find it, or actually
Find it, or where is it?
Let's talk about all of it. Like, what is the G-spot and how do you locate it?
Okay, I have a model.
Ooh, okay.
So this is a clitoris.
Right.
That's a full clitoris. Most of the time, you only see like this part of it. So the G-spot is like right behind it. And Octavia may hear something different. She can definitely add into this. But all the studies I've done, like people keep saying it's a spot. And then the studies the research I've been doing is like, it's really just the back of the clitoris. Right. And so when you go in there, most people tell you if you put your finger in and you kind of do the come hither motion, you'll hit it right here, and that's your G-spot.
That's your G-spot. Okay. Got a model. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I have lots
I'm visual, so I like that.
Models and toys. I'm yeah. I feel like you have to teach a lot of things at 50. It's amazing.
Octavia, how do you have that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, how do you get deeper into that G-spot conversation with your client?
Because I'm dealing a lot with women who have been religiously sexually repressed. Mm-hmm. Many women don't even think they're that sexual pleasure is for their mate, for their man, right? So one of the things I'm doing is I'm teaching them about the clitoris, because a lot of people actually think the clitoris is just really small.
Right.
She's actually big, like what we just saw. She's bigger than what people have always said over the years. So I help them with that stimulation, but also when it comes to the G-spot, women can actually find it themselves. It may not feel the same as when her man does.
Okay.
You won't feel the same tingling sensations and whatnot as when he finds it. But when he finds it, she at least knows where it is and can tell him how it feels, what hers actually feels like, and describe it to him. So I'm really big on women teaching their men how to sex them, because on average of the ladies that I deal with, their men don't know. They just bang.
They don't know.
They just bang. So I teach them the different G-spot, the different spots actually, because there's more than just that. But the most common is going to be the G-spot. And once they can find it, because they can go up them themselves and find it, and then she can teach her man how to find it. So their sex life actually changes, especially if he learns to do it simultaneously with stimulation of the clitoris as well as hitting the G-spot. That can be very explosive while she's doing at the same time too. So
that was the next thing I was going to ask you about. Oh, we got a question I think is a good one. Lava Boy says, how much pressure should you apply on the G-spot?
Ask her. Some like
Ask
hard.
her. Okay. All right.
Don't.
All right. So y'all giving up some game now. Y'all giving up $1 million worth of game. So ladies, find your own G-spot. I think Octavia's saying, like, find your G-spot. Renee just showed you a model of where it's located, but find it first, and then you can better guide your lover to do the same. And I think Octavia is saying it might be in a little bit of a different setting for you than it is your man, but you knowing where it is will help guide him.
Yeah, it can. Some women don't never find it, but their man do. But it's good for her to become more in touch with herself. She knows her body. That's the most important thing, is her knowing her body.
Know your body. Okay.
I think it's important to get a hand mirror, a light, and just look in there. You can see what's there. And I love that Octavia is saying this too, because I talk about this with women too. Like, you need to know what your body is like. It's not because our parts aren't external like yours, so we're not as familiar. And on top of it, we're taught, don't touch yourself there. It's dirty. It's nasty. You hear all of those messages. So many of us don't know where our cervix is. We don't realize that the vagina is not the same as the vulva. We don't know all of these things. And so if you take a look in there and just see, that'll help you to know where everything is, and touch yourself and feel it. May is masturbation month, so I'm all about that this month.
Hey, I didn't know that. Did not know that.
Yes,
okay. Gotta celebrate. Is there a cake for that?
We got a whole nother week.
Touch yourself.
All right.
What feels good. And then, like she said, you can then teach your partner that. And I know, like, as Gen-Xers, sometimes you might hear women say, like, I don't want to have to teach a man. And I think, I don't know this for sure, because like she said, we're not a monolith, but I think what women are saying, I don't want to teach you the basics. Like, I shouldn't have to teach you how to teach me. I shouldn't have to teach you that, where to put your penis. But I do need to teach you what feels good to me. And in order for me to do that, I have to know what feels good to me. I can't tell you that without you.
Oh, we got another good question.
And look, and we guys don't know this stuff. Listen, nobody's teaching men this stuff at all.
Absolutely not.
Nobody's teaching men about nobody. This is not.
And porn doesn't help. Back to the porn comment. The porn definitely does not help.
And I want to make sure that that's clear to women of all ages, because I hear that you're supposed to know this, you should know this. No, men don't get this education.
Nobody is.
Nobody's no.
Neither of us.
But it seems like women are having the conversations, or you all are. I don't know where the male sexual therapists are. I don't know where the men conversations around how to please your woman and how to apply pressure to the G-spot and asking men among men.
Nope.
Like, even this is a very valid question from King Tariq. What sexual position is it easier to, and like, I'm sure it depends on the woman, right? I don't know. I don't even know the right answer, but that's a very valid question from a man.
It can depend on the woman. But it's been said, average anyway, is doggy style.
Okay.
And just what's the most famous or infamous position? Missionary.
Okay.
Missionary.
I mean, there are other ways, yes, but if you want to know one of the easier ones that you hear reports back on, it's going to be doggy style, especially if he's curved, or missionary. If he's curved, he could hit it a bit better.
Yeah, you'll hit it if you're curved.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, you hear that out there, fellas? Missionary and doggy style. Two positions it seems like you can't go wrong with, potentially define that G-spot on your woman. Now, I want to get to this. We talk about Kegels, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I know what they are. I might not be pronouncing it correctly, but we talk about the women, but men have Kegel exercises as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you all talk? And after we talk about this, because we're running out of time, but I want to know, like, what you all went through to become sexologists. I'm very curious about that. But the Kegel exercises for men. So I have actually done these for myself, because I read years ago that it makes, even if you have a hard erection, doing Kegels for men, it will make you have a I'm talking about super rock hard erection by doing Kegel exercises.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you all talk to men about those types of exercises in your work?
I talk mostly to women But my husband does talk to men, and actually he helps men learn how to train themselves, like you potty train yourselves to last longer with their mates. And one of the ways is with male Kegel exercise.
Absolutely. Renee, are you having those conversations?
Yeah, I've done some. It's usually with couples, and I love to work with men more in doing that. I don't know where those spaces are. Like, I want to be able to create that safe space. And so on the podcast, we've talked about that sometimes. I've gone on others' podcasts and talked about it. I get the look of like, what? You know, so there is definitely some conversation needs to be had about that, because a lot of men don't know the benefits of it, how it helps with semen retention, how it helps with stronger erections, reduce prostate, help with the prostate. So there's a lot of benefits in it that a lot of guys don't know about, because we primarily talk to women about it now, which is something we weren't doing before either. So it's important for both to do it, especially at our age.
All right, fellas, especially you older cats like me and Stu, do them Kegel exercises. It might put you back in the game a little bit. Actually, you can hit us up. Send us a DM if you want to know more about those Kegel exercises. I could tell you a little something. Stu, I don't know if you've had experiences with those. What you know about that?
I've used to do Kegels. I haven't done Kegels in a long while. But I'm very familiar with Kegel exercises. I don't remember them being so dramatically improving. I didn't have that experience.
Okay. You had the opposite experience as me.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, that maybe I was.
Maybe you just didn't need
Maybe I was already. Maybe I just didn't need them. Wow. Maybe I was good at the time.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, brother, and I know all men say this, but I was doing my thing now. I was doing my thing, but everybody, I think it's funny with men. Sometimes we always want to act like we got it together. Right. You can have a guy that orgasms in 60 seconds.
He ain't gonna tell you that.
He's killing it.
And he will tell you that everyone he's been with has had an amazing orgasm. And
That's right.
Fellas, we gotta stop it, man. Cut it out. No, but I want to make sure we get to this. We're running out of time. This is such a great conversation. I knew it was going to go quickly, but I wanted to just hoping you all could share, how does one become a sexologist, and what does that course of study kind of look like for people?
Sure, I could say how I became.
Okay.
I was already working with ladies and doing workshops. On one of the first workshops I ever did was how to have an orgasm, how to have a dream sex life via having orgasms, right? Along the lines of me teaching women in the church about sex and sexuality and things like that, I met Dr. Rachel Ross. She's a medical doctor, also has a PhD. She was on the show The Doctors, and she has Dr. Rachel Institute. And being that she's a clinical sexologist, because there's a difference. Clinical sexologist, this is where you're like a sex therapist. I'm not a sex therapist. So I'm more like a sex coach, relationship coach, life coach. But she was like, lead with sex. She was like, no matter what other certifications you have, lead with sex. You need, and if you're going to go into the medical side of it, or the psychological side of it, you do need to have advanced degrees. The others, you can just have regular degrees and, just like with anything else, and go through her. Me personally, I went through her institute to get that certification. But others, I'm sure this is Renee. I think Renee is more like the clinical side and psychological side. I'm not sure, but those are different advanced degrees. But that's what I did. I'm not sure.
Okay. Renee, what was your experience? I know you went to a sex university, if I'm saying it right.
I did. So I went to Sex Coach U, and when we graduated, it's called clinical sexologist. It's very much like what Octavia just mentioned. I do more coaching and counseling. teaching workshops and that kind of thing, not the therapy side. So the therapy side deals with, I think therapy is important. Don't get me wrong. Therapy tends to deal with like what's been going on. Coaching is like, where do you want to be? And so we deal a little bit with like what's happening. We want to know that story, but we don't want you to get lost in that story. So we're like, okay, you're here. Let's move here. So that's kind of the difference. So the program I went through was 2 years. It was a lot of information. I actually looked at Dr. Rachel's program too, because when I was trying to figure out where to go. But it's a lot of studies about human anatomy. So there's a lot of like female and male human anatomy. There's a lot of information that you go through as far as being in relationship with people and how do you deal with that and talk with them about their sexuality, the different types of sexualities that people are going through, and then the different situations that can happen that cause people to not be together sexually, whether it's erectile dysfunction or body image issues or psychological, and sometimes, especially as a sexologist, we aren't able, some things need therapy. Like some people are dealing with something that honestly a coach, they need something else. Like if they're depressed, that's not something I can necessarily deal with. But I can help you with the side effects of medication to have better, having to go to therapy.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Yeah, there might be some people out there that want to get some formal training. I think is good. I might check into that a little bit too. I'm kind of intrigued by it. But ladies, we want to thank you all for coming on today. We want to give you a chance to share any final thoughts that you want to share with the audience, and then I want you to tell people where they can find you in the social media environment. Any final thoughts?
All right.
Yeah, I enjoyed the podcast. Number one,
thank you for
inviting and having us on. I love talking about these topics. I can talk about them all day. I think overall, when you're dealing with sex, whether it's for men or women, even though I specialize with women of a particular faith, of the faith, I'm sorry. I think at the end of the day, we gotta stop like downplaying sex, because we're doing it and we're doing sexual things.
We are.
And we act like it's a big cover over it. Like we're not supposed to talk about it. So I'm glad for things like this. And social media is not the most welcoming for us either. They take your page down. They take stuff down. TikTok is 3 videos. I mean, I just, it can be so hard. So having the discussions more and more will help in normalize. Because a lot of people think it's normalized. It's really still not. But having the discussions more and more and more will make the powers that be bow down a little bit and allow us to have more spaces. Because when you have to create spaces away from everything and you still get, hit up about it or things taken down, it becomes really difficult. So having the discussions amongst yourself about sex and sexuality, like the things we talked about today, like even what Eric's bringing up about men need to have those discussions well. And there are male sexologists, by the way. And the last thing I would say about that is it's not enough of us that talk about this as far as in our race. If you notice anything, sexologists, anything, it's ran primarily by the dominant race. It's not the TED Talks, everything. It's not us. So we need to do this more and more so we can be out there more. True
indeed. Where can the people find you? I saw your Instagram. Your Instagram is popping, but where can people find you on IG and other places?
Anywhere my handle is at Octavia Evance, anywhere on social media. My website is also octaviaevance.com. You can literally find me everywhere from TikTok, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, under my name. My name is my handle.
Okay. All right. Miss Renee, we got any final thoughts for the viewers, and where can we find you in the digital environment?
I do. So I want to pull out this on my website. I have it's called, like, people usually have a mission statement. I call them my missionary statements. So I want to share. I want to just share a few of those to end with. Okay. It says that I want to create a world of grown folks who are experiencing pleasure sexually, emotionally, and physically, where we feel comfortable talking about sex and sensuality as easily as we discuss food in our jobs. Yeah. Where couples who aren't happy and satisfied sexually are willing to make the changes to achieve and prioritize their pleasure. Where people know you're never too old to explore and enjoy sex. where penis and vagina sex is not the only definition of sex, and where people try new things, celebrate their differences, and become the fullest expression of who they are sexually. And so that's why I do this work. Like Octavia said, when I started looking around, I got into this. It was a very, very white world, and it still is. Like, I am amazed when I meet somebody else Black. It's like everywhere else you go, and you're like, oh my God, family reunion! There's another Black.
Right.
There are so few of us in this field that are doing this work, and each of us has our own niche. And I do this work because I looked around and I saw that Gen-Xers were struggling. People were like, I'm on this med, and it's killing my libido. I'm in this marriage for 10 years. I'm not having great sex, and so I want to normalize those conversations. I want people to express themselves fully. And I want people to have great sex because sexuality is a big part of who we are.
I want people to have great sex too.
Gen X represent.
We're all having orgasms.
Everybody deserves one.
Everybody deserves one.
Yes.
Renee, before we forget, we want to make sure we know where to find you on social.
Absolutely. So my website is thegensexologist.com, and I am the Gen Sexologist everywhere except Twitter. It's too many letters, so it's just Gen Sexologist on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Yeah, man, you ladies are definitely representing Gen X to the fullest. And we want to thank you for doing this work around sex. We know it's much needed. I learned a couple of things today. I know a lot of young Generation Z and millennials watch this episode. So hopefully, ladies, we can bring you back next season and maybe discuss another facet of sex, some stuff that we didn't get a chance to get into.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, bet.
Yes.
All right, we're going to give you all back your day. Thank you again. And
thank you so
we will
much.
talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right.
Us.
Peace. Thank you. Wow.
What a banger, man.
What
Dude,
a show.
That was good. That was good.
What a
good
show,
stuff.
man.
Stuff,
you
man.
know, man, again, that was another episode that could have gone another hour or so, man.
Oh yeah, easily.
We could have dug in on some things, but
no doubt.
it was good. It was good.
That's our second time, fam, talking about sex. I remember we did that episode, I think in season 1. Let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex. Well, we
Couple
better be
things.
talking. We got to talk about it. I think one of the biggest takeaways was knowing and realizing that our young men, our young boys, and most of us don't have a safe space to go and learn about the vagina or how to connect with our woman.
Right.
You know, we just think we're supposed to be just nutting in their mouth and staining and hitting, and that ain't it. That ain't it. That's not it. That's young boy stuff. That's immature stuff. That's not sex. That's misogyny to a degree. You know what I mean? It ain't even right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. That's just kind of how we were like socialized. Like that's just what it is. And it's refreshing as an older cat to kind of understand there's more to sexuality than that.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like you said, what you described is not even truly sexuality. So it's been cool to learn what sexuality actually is. It just makes the experience. Now, I know it's some young cat out there right now looking at us like, yo, these old dudes don't know what they're talking about. But let me tell you something. Just try to explore sexuality a little bit deeper. Even if you out there tearing them down.
Yeah.
Still, there's gonna come a time where you might not be performing in certain areas the same way you did 10 years ago. You're gonna have to put some more tools in your belt, man.
Yeah, it's particularly when you become more mature as a man, when you settle down, the job is how to have sexual pleasure with your single monogamous mate for the rest of your life.
Woo.
So it's easy. It's easy to get a new one and show up with the pizza. That's easy peasy.
It is easy.
That's nothing to that, right? Yeah. It's always dope when it's exciting and new.
No doubt.
But you know, how are you gonna keep it hot when you 12 years in, you 22 years in, you 30 years in,
man?
And I know. Look, and if for you, all you young people who think that when you get 50, 60, you ain't having sex no more, that's nasty, and why? They ain't doing that. You are wrong.
Don't believe
You
the hype.
are wrong.
Fam, I used to
Telling
think that was so crazy when I was younger, and I would hear like an older person who I thought was a grandpa talking about they was getting it in. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you still trying to do that? I even asked somebody one time, a family was like, yo, what are you crazy for? Like, you think I'm dead because I'm 60 years old? I'm still trying to do my thing. And that was very eye-opening for me. I didn't know that.
And
Had no
now
idea.
you realize the possibility
Now,
of it as you know,
right.
you
As
see
you
that.
creep into that
Yeah,
age.
you like, well, this part of me is not dead.
Right.
This part of me is very much still
Alive
alive.
and well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having this conversation with me, man. This was really good. We had some nice guests. I know we got a couple of other things that we got to get to quickly. I know you want to let the people, and I do too, let them know about the merch.
Yeah.
And I believe you got a raffle going on, don't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we do, but we're just gonna switch it up. We are. So if you hit so first of all, let's go at the shopmoneysexgenx.com.
Right.
It's on our website. We got a bunch of new stuff, and got the ease into eating better line is our newest edition. So what you can do is, and we got a whole bunch of cool stuff. We got the mugs with the red and black piping.
No question.
We got t-shirts. And matter of fact, I just got some socks, man. I got some socks over here. What is it? Let me look at this. I got socks. Got the MSG socks.
Big Stu represent. I saw them on Instagram a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I got a couple pair. These ain't been taken out the pack yet. But if you hit our Cash App up and you drop $1 in the Cash App,
$1.
MSG Podcast, it's $1 Cash App.
Okay.
Next Sunday, we will put your name into a spin wheel. I have a spin wheel. Your name is going to, we'll do it live on air. We'll spin it. And whoever's name comes up from the $1 Cash App MSG raffle, will get something from our. We will buy you something.
Nice.
Your name goes in. You put $1 in the cash. Put your name in it in the comment section for the raffle. We'll know because it's only the MSG Podcast Cash App that we have, right. And then we'll put your name in, and you will win something from Money Sex Gen X.
I like that, man. I like that. And Stu, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I wouldn't call this a moment of disclosure, but I've been rocking low Ralph Lauren since I was a young dude, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna say this to you. I got on a low joint today, but I have very much enjoyed wearing our merch as I'm out and about. I've worn it in other countries. I think I've worn it to other cities. Me and my lady were out yesterday. I had the white joint that you designed. I really find a lot of satisfaction in rocking our merch. And part of the reason people that we're asking you to help us represent, it's like, it just feels good to represent something that's not the establishment all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we want to come up, we're trying to get this show global. Help us show and prove with Money Sex Gen X is, even if you're not a Gen X, just that mentality of, man, it's two dudes, they Gen Xers, they cool, they trying to give up some game. We would love to see you on the street rocking some socks or a t-shirt or a hat or whatever it is. So yeah, come through and get you some merch.
Let me add to that, and we're gonna go. We're already over a little bit. We're gonna keep going with our show. We over just a little bit. We got a couple little segments we need to get to. But let me say about that. My mother raised me, man, to wear my own brands.
I like that, man.
And when I was young, I didn't do it. I didn't know. But what I have always done, for the most part, is you don't see me wearing anybody else's name of their brand. I don't do it unless it's somebody who's black owned. I'm on that.
I like that.
I rock black owned businesses. So to your point, it's always dope to see that these two black men can come up. You created this logo. We have this platform. I'm always going to rock our brands, whether it's Money Sex Gen X or Pool or the 3 commas or leaders or whatever the case may be.
I love that.
I'm trying to rock Black-owned brands, but I do love some Low. I do love some Ralph Lauren.
Yeah, man, it's hard to pass. And for those, I am a shareholder of the Ralph Lauren and all of that. But still, man, like Stu said, it's nothing like wearing your own stuff. I heard Dame Dash mention something about that, and I didn't quite know I couldn't understand it. Mm-hmm. But now I understand it. It's something different about wearing your own stuff. So, and as I say every week, I did design the logo, but Stu designed these T-shirts, socks, and all that. He's the mastermind behind that. So 2 black men holding it down, man.
2 black men holding it down. Hey, maybe that's another T-shirt. 2 black men holding it down.
Holding it down.
That's coming. That's coming to y'all. Y'all heard it here first.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, what we got? Characters from corporate, bro?
We got a good character from corporate this week, man. I think you're gonna like this one, Stu. So if you're tuning in for the first time, we talk about corporate. We know a little something about it. Some wild stuff goes on in corporate. You know, sometimes people talk about how wild it is in the street, but corporate can get just as wild.
It sure can.
All right. So this week we got a submission. This person says, "Hi, I'm a 24-year-old black man from Los Angeles, California. All right. Shout out to LA.
Shout out to LA.
He says, I guess I'm a Gen Z. Yes, you are. He says, I work in the media industry as a photography assistant to a pretty famous female photographer. Her company does shoots for celebrities and large corporations. All right. Okay. He said, this woman treats me poorly to the point where it's just outright disrespectful. Damn. He goes on to say, I can't tell you how many times she has berated me in front of clients. He goes on to say, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie All About the Benjamins with Ice Cube and Mike Epps. Yeah, I have seen that. It's one of my favorite movies. He said, but do you remember the light-skinned dude with the curly hair that was the photographer? I remember that dude. You know what he's talking about? All right, the light-skinned dude that was the photographer, and how he was talking crazy to his assistant in that scene just before they stole the diamonds. He said, that's how she talks to me.
All the time.
Wow. She must be really talking crazy to you, fam. All right, but he said, but the crazy part is that as bad as she treats me, I think I've fallen in love with her.
Uh-oh.
I can't stop fantasizing about tearing that back out.
That's crazy.
And he goes on to say, I guess I would have to be a character for that. He says, how do you fall in love with someone who is your boss and treating you like SHIT? What do you guys think? Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Man, I know you guys want to say about that.
I agree with Lava Boy. First off, you are a damn character. You're a damn character. You are, brother.
Lava Boy, why is he a character, man?
He a character,
why is he a character for that? He fell in love.
Nah, man, but he complaining? He
She treat him bad.
Well, that's the complaint. She treat me bad. She berates me. She treats me like shit. She talks down on me, but I love her. I want to blow her back out. You goofy, man. Make a decision, dude. What you doing? What you doing, man?
Oh man, he called him man a goofy. Wow.
Yeah, man. Like, hey, I think he's a character. He's a super character. I agree with Lava Boy. It's so confusing, dude. I think you got something happening from your childhood, and I don't want to make light of that. I mean, I don't mean to make light of it. I know you. I appreciate you, Eric, and I both appreciate you writing in. You know, you obviously getting something from. But listen, bro, you playing it to me on the surface without knowing the whole story, only based on what you told us. It sounds like you kind of playing yourself, like you're a glutton for punishment, like you like being in this space. Like that's corny to me. That's corny. I mean, if she's treating you so bad, but you want to hit it, that's goofy to me. That don't make sense. Which one is it? Make a decision. Either you rocking with her or you not, you know? And if you feeling her, you know, I don't know. I just don't understand. I don't understand the complaints, but you want to hit. Like, I don't understand. That's confusing to me. So from Stu, you're a super character.
You're goofy. All right.
Yeah.
What's my take on that? I agree with Stu for the most part. For me, if you had said you just wanted to blow her back out without the I'm in love part, I think I could have understood it a little bit more, right? Because I would have said, well, you want to blow her back out, but I don't know the reason why. It could be for a variety of reasons. You know what I'm saying? But you went on to say you were in love. And yeah, that's a little
part.
That's different. Yeah, that's the goofy part.
Now,
so,
I go ahead, E. I'm sorry.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say much more. That's questionable. It's something to think about.
And I get what we as men sometimes think, and this has been a go-to statement, another Stu's moment of transparency, where sometimes we be like, she just need her back blown out to calm her down.
That might be what he's.
Yeah,
that's what I would have thought. That's what I would have thought. Yeah.
If I put this on
I love you part. Right.
Yeah, I calm ass down. She just gets some of this and shit. Because there is I do have a myth that I generally run with. It's like from we were kids, when a girl hits you and runs away, or she keeps hitting on you and stuff, that just means she likes you, right? And so I've always kind of taken that in my adult, like you meet a woman and for the first time and y'all start arguing, or she picking argument, I'll be like, oh, she must be feeling me, and this is the only way that she can get my attention. Right. So her talking bad may be her way of dominating or feeling some sort of dominance, and maybe he's picking up on that energy. And that's why I say you need the therapy to figure out what about this energy is attractive to you.
Right. I feel that.
That's the part. Yeah.
Because and then just to wrap this up, I think because I could have understood if he said like she's treating me like I'm a sucker, but if I have sex with her, I can show her that I'm not a clown. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I could have understood that, but the I love you part. So yeah, it looks like we're saying dude starstruck. Yeah, maybe he's starstruck. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So yeah, something to think about too. So our closeout segment is the pool artist of the week. What we got on deck?
We got a dope one. Okay, this is why does your sex life suck episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna play some King Chaz.
All
I'm gonna bring him up right here, and I'm gonna play most of it, but I want you to pay attention to the lyrics. I want everybody to pay attention to the lyrics right here.
Cool artist of the week. And where can the people find this on their own?
They can find this at musicspool.com. I'm actually going to do one better. I'm going to drop the link in the chat.
That's a great idea. I like that.
I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And the name of the song is No Idea.
No Idea.
And the song is by King Chaz. You ready to hear a little bit of it, bro?
Yes, sir. No doubt.
All right. Let's go. Here we go. No Idea, King Chaz.
Out the back, promise myself I won't do it no more. I had no idea you was free. Got on top and put my ass to sleep. Pussy got me creeping out the back, promise myself I won't do it no more. When I first approached, you said you ain't that tired. Thinking to myself, how could I give one night? Told me she was looking for some dishes. Baby girl, you know I'm with the shits. Looking for somebody who can love me right. If that's you, the mama, baby, hit my line. She said she the one to come and get me. Touch me with no hands, a lot of spit. And shorty, you know it's on when we get together, baby. So go ahead and take it off, cause I just wanna taste it. That's what she told.
All right, they got to go to pool to get the rest of that, bro.
Man, another banger. I love that. All right, check that joint out. Man, that was better than what I thought, fam. I forgot we was in the episode.
Yeah. Okay. King Chaz, check it out. No Idea. I had no idea she was a freak. He had no idea. Check out King Chaz, musicspool.com.
True indeed. Well, brother, this has been another classic episode. Thank you again. We got our final episode of the season coming up next week. Let me see if I can remember it. I think it's Why Do You Need a Therapist? And I believe we're gonna have some licensed therapists on here, man.
Yeah. I'm working on a couple of. I'm working on a trick too. I know you got. We have at least one.
Yeah, we got one on deck already, so that's gonna be cool. Why do you need a therapist?
Why do you need a therapist?
Season finale. That's season finale, ain't it? Yeah. Season finale for season 4.
Well, we're actually we got to redo one. We got to redo one.
Yeah.
But so we're going one extra week, but we're making up for one. But yes. Technically our season finale is next week. The day before it's the day before Memorial Day.
Day before Memorial. Oh yeah, that is coming up.
We got to be on point because we got to get to the grill. I'm sure we got to get to the grill next week.
Better believe it. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
looking forward
people,
to that, man.
No doubt. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, start going to check us out on YouTube, man. We migrated to YouTube. Stu told me we was going to YouTube, and that's what's up. So we go on to YouTube. Find us on YouTube. Continue to like, comment, share, subscribe. I like when y'all drop MSG 100 in the chat because even if you're not commenting, we know you're there. So keep doing that, and we will see you all next week.
Until next time.